syndrome and how it's not what we are doing here. It's not what we are doing. What I see a lot is over preparing. I work with a lot of high achieving individuals, and there's this tendency, not coming from a place of insecurity, but from a place of responsibility, that we want to over prepare for everything that we do. And we want to write out those talking points that we have. We want to rehearse them, maybe run them by someone. Maybe we are counting ourselves out from job descriptions because we see the list that's there. And as high achieving individuals, we're like, okay, I don't meet all of the qualifications or 110% of them. So I'm going to wait until I do, or I'm going to exceed them. So I make sure I'm the most qualified applicant for this position. Or maybe there's this, and I see this a lot, a tendency to look around and say, okay, what training am I missing? What certification do I need? What additional degree do I want to pursue? And at times that may make sense, but oftentimes we're not taking a step back and recognizing the value, the skills, the experiences that we already have. So we're looking to these external validations, thinking that that next step, that next training, if I just keep gathering information and knowledge, that I'll finally feel prepared. I'll finally feel legit or ready for that next thing. And that feels responsible, right? That feels like the path that we should take. And if you're in a healthcare profession, and I know especially in pharmacy, that tendency could be to continue just gathering up all of these letters after our name or certifications, maybe without an intentional strategy, but rather the pull that we feel to be more prepared for the next thing. And so if you're here and any of this is resonating with you this morning, I'd love to hear what comes up for you when you think about getting ready for your next step. I've also been talking a lot with folks who are telling me that they are very content where they are, which is amazing. And they're not thinking about what's next. And I want to encourage us to consider that when you're in that place of being in love with your job, being very happy with where things are, that is also an amazing place to start from. That's an amazing place to really plan out and map out that vision that you have for yourself, because at that time, you have such a clear and calm place to work from. You have a state of being and an energy level that is really ideal for planning your next step. And so even if you are in your career and you're thinking, gosh, I don't know what's next, that's all good. But I would encourage you to consider, how are you getting ready for that next role, for that next responsibility? And to encourage you that it doesn't have to always look like what we think it should, i.e., we don't always need the roadmap. We don't always need everything that is, the exact checkbox that we've been told that we need to accumulate to justify our own self-worth and value. And I get it. We care a lot about the work that we do. We care about the quality of our work. And my goal here is not to say that you just compromise all of that and throw it out the window at all. I know that we want to avoid taking unnecessary risks. When things feel risky, our nervous system gets into fight or flight mode. Things feel scary. We want to avoid feeling uncomfortable in light of that concept and that framework. And traditionally, we've been rewarded for doing more, right? Our careers have always rewarded us and given us more when we are taking on those new educations, those new responsibilities. But what I would encourage you to think through or think about, and maybe reframe this weekend into next week, is that by over preparing, that's a risk management strategy, right? You're trying to minimize any risk that can come up, but in reality, you're delaying a lot of things. You're delaying decisions. You're delaying being in execution mode and taking action. And you're evaluating probably a lot longer than you need to. You're staying in that analysis mode and trying to gather more information when really you could be moving forward faster by moving, taking action, and seeing what happens, learning from that, getting that feedback to be able to propel yourself even more forward with more progress sooner. And you're often second guessing yourself at times instead of going through that process when things are unknown, when things are uncertain, when you don't feel ready. So what usually happens is you are very busy. You're very busy, but you're staying in the same place. Your position is not changing. You're not moving yourself forward. And I'm not saying that anyone who feels this way is underqualified or doesn't have confidence, but you're keeping yourself safe. You're keeping yourself from being exposed and feeling vulnerable. You're keeping yourself in this place where you're chasing that feeling of being ready for something. But being ready, feeling ready, that's a moving target. When have you ever felt 100% ready to do something you've never done before? That feeling and that requirement that you set for yourself of feeling ready will actually never resolve itself. That will never be resolved. So if you're here and you're listening and you are thinking these things or these things resonate with you, I want to share with you that you belong where you are. You are right where you need to be. You already have everything that you need in order to move forward. And getting one more credential, one more training, getting to the state of perfect readiness, I would love to know if anyone has ever felt perfectly ready. Please tell me in the chat. Trying to eliminate all the uncertainties, that's not where confidence comes from. It just doesn't. You become more confident in what you do when you take action before you feel ready. When you get to the outcome of what you've been working on and you handle it. Maybe you fail and you try again. Confidence comes from making changes based on feedback that you get. And that feedback can be internal, that feedback can be external. But adjusting and pivoting in real time is how you are going to continue to grow and push yourself to do more, to do something different. Building confidence is done by doing, by executing, not by standing still and accumulating. It's not a place to move ahead. And so I'd ask you to consider, instead of saying to yourself, what else do I need before I feel fully ready to do something, to make a move in my career, to open a business, to take on a stretch goal, to learn something new? What's one thing you can already do with what you have? What's one action step, something so small that you can already do with what you have? If you want to put this into action in such a small way in this upcoming week, there's so many easy ways to do it. For example, what about, you're coming up to maybe a conversation or a meeting or a presentation, and you say what you're thinking, even if it's not like this perfect polished thing. You reach out and you apply or you learn about a job before you meet all of those qualifications. You make a decision finally that maybe you've been sitting on for some time, knowing that you can revisit it in the long run. So you don't need to fix your confidence. You don't have imposter syndrome. You've just been waiting for permission from yourself to move. So I'd encourage you next week, tell me what you're moving on. What is it that you're taking action on? And after you do it, I'd love to also hear from you. What are you adjusting moving forward? Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope you have an amazing weekend ahead, and I look forward to hearing from you.